ставил у себя там где-то в комнате и потом гостям показывал, что он лучший. Ну, свиньям это было пофиг. А они себе стояли в своем хлеву и в ус не дули. Лучшие они, не лучшие. А ему это было важно. Показать своим друзьям, что он круче. И Наполеону было важно. И тому же Македонскому, и Трампу, и всем. How's it going, man? It's a beautiful morning, huh? Indeed. Interesting. Is yours inflatable?
Yes, it is.
Have you tried uninflatable?
Hard?
The hard one, yeah.
Yes, manage, no?
It is stable because those ones are not stable. But usually people who have no place to store them, that becomes an issue. You don't have a place to put it? Yeah, that's the thing. I'm making a movie. I hope it's okay. I'm sorry?
I am at the beginning.
Oh, this is you just started this?
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, especially.
The standing yet.
It sounds like you've mastered many other things already, though. You sound like you have a lot of wisdom.
I am a great swimmer.
I'm sorry,
Great swimmer.
you're a swimmer?
Yeah. So no problem on that front.
You're from Haiti?
Yes, I'm going.
I can hear the French.
So you're saying this is better?
This is, I don't want to spoil your, your enjoyment, but if you try this standing, you can't go back to that. I mean, it's difficult because it's so stable, and that one is not, because of the nature of the way it's made. It's like a pillow. This one is sturdy, especially some of them. They're a little heavy, a little thicker, and they're wider too. But this is not so wide. It's average, 32, a little wide. I can put people on it, and it's extremely stable. Once you get used to it, it's practically I don't fall, even with big waves. But those ones are challenge.
What's the weight?
The weight is 30 pounds. It's not heavy. 30, 35 pounds. But I'm around you. You'll give it a try. But if you have no place to store it, it becomes an issue. It becomes an issue.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I am a research analyst.
I could hear that. You hear that? You sound very scientific. What are you researching?
Actually, I cover a wide range of fields. I'm in administration.
Oh wow! And so, what is your research mainly dealing with?
It's not my research per se. It's just administrative research.
Oh.
I make sure that the application to the federal government is okay, and then once the research is approved, I make sure that the management of it goes as it should.
Wow! And so what are the principal topics of research?
Human subject research, drugs,
Pharmaceuticals.
Pharmaceuticals, and
You must be dealing.
behavioral research.
Oh, that's interesting. That's up my alley a little bit. I'm a physician.
The physician?
Yeah.
Which,
I work in intensive care.
where?
Jackson South.
Oh, nice.
A little far, but I have a lot of interest in behavioral science and the psychology of the animals they call sapiens. We are funny little creatures.
That's a very profound subject.
Somewhat, yes. As profound as it gets, because we think we know.
Very unfortunately, as I say sometimes to folks, you can be as sincere as the Mayan priest while he was plunging his knife in the chest of his victim. And over time, they look back and they feel very, very stupid.
Mayan priest, sincere when he was plunging a knife
In the chest of his victim to produce rain.
To produce rain.
You know about these guys, right? The
I-
Mayans.
Well, of course, but this particular story, it's a metaphorical story, right?
Yeah,
It's
just-
not a specific story of some.
No, it's real. It's real.
Oh, sure, because they've done a lot of sacrificial
Exactly.
customs and still do up to this day.
I meant to say about how convinced we are about our views and opinions. So we are willing to kill for them.
Only to find out that they're not
an
entire.
error.
I'm sorry,
That was a mistake.
a sincere one.
A sincere one.
That's why I love. Are you a believer, or are you a scientifically minded person?
If you're going to talk to me about Jesus, I'm trying to stay away from him these days.
You're trying to stay away.
From him these days. From Jesus.
You having issues with Jesus?
No, not you, Jesus, but I know so much about Jesus that right now I'm trying to maybe learn something different.
Let him. The guy needs a little rest too. You know, sometimes we overstress him, because the energy of Jesus is powerful. And I'm speaking as a physician right now. I'm not a religious person in a meaning of in a standard meaning. I love religions as a science
Okay.
and as a global phenomenon that's been ruling this land for millennia. But I'm a student of religion rather than a believer in religion. Now, Jesus is an interesting, very beautiful person, but I don't mean to go back. I'm just saying that I hear what you're saying. It's a lot of things that we read, they don't let us even analyze. They say don't analyze, don't ask questions, just believe, have faith. See, that's not fair, because why not ask a question like those Mayans?
At the same time, it's fair, you know.
Sometimes.
Otherwise, life in society would have been impossible.
Very true, very true.
Everyone with its own set of beliefs.
Because not everyone is ready
And everything is right.
to have morals of their own. You see that happen when there's a hurricane. People start looting places without a need. I mean, I understand if I'm starving, I may rob a grocery. If I'm dying of hunger, everyone will rob. All the animals do that every day. We think, you know, morals. Animals are immoral. They rob, they kill, but not malicious.
But you know, to say that there's no need is not, I would say, to my understanding, correct. Whenever we rob, it's because there's a need.
Oh, there is a need, but I'm
There's
saying
always a need.
there's no vital need in terms of survival.
This
Like
is
to rob a TV,
This is objective,
subjective.
subjective. I mean,
That's what, of course,
subjective.
every word I'm saying is such. But speaking on a more of a common sense level, you know, when you rob a TV, there's no survival. There's no direct survival need for a television set to be robbed.
To you, who has 4 sets in your house?
To me, that has who?
To you, who has 4 sets of this TV in your house?
I have one that's broken. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
You understand?
I understand.
Do you have 5 sets in your house? It's not survival. But the thing is, in our society, we train people to see life this way.
Consumerism, economics.
Hopefully, we are not on these boards because we enjoy what's going on. Whether the boards make me feel good. The feeling is not in you, it's in the board. That's very dangerous. And that's what we've been doing in this society. And it's okay.
It's humans.
To each its own.
But then there is something to be said about someone, which is what I've been doing with these videos. I have a YouTube channel. I called it Formula of Love, based on the name of a Russian movie. That the guy was a prophet, magician, guru, crook in 17th century. So he was figuring out the formula of love. Well, it's a complex formula, to say the least. But I've been talking about stuff like that, about topics like that, because to implant or put the happiness into this, it's a dangerous proposition, because it's not. And happiness, even the word happiness is a very dangerous word if not used properly, because it's conditional, and there's no, the true happiness is it's called joy. It's what a lot of these wise men keep saying, that if you look for happiness, you might as well stop.
Yeah.
Because once you find it, you'll realize it's not it.
Some would argue that you don't find it. It's in you.
Joy. They call it joy. It's a state. That's unconditional state of joy, which people say, scientists and spiritual leaders say, that this is our default mode. It's a baseline to which we are designed. All the animals, the children, those are the two populations that I learn from. I feel that they are the source that teaches us the best. Children and animals and elderly people who are about to pass. They really start teaching wisdom.
That's Buddhism, then.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's something that our Western society hasn't come to fully embrace yet, because it's not a Western philosophy. But they're saying that the joy is what we are built with, like a TV that comes from a factory with the preset set of channels. Our preset state is joyous, but something happens along the way where we download some programs that are somewhat less than joyous, or we think they're joyous, but they're not. And then we get these viruses in the system where we don't know how to, and then we put the antivirus program, which just creates even more viruses. And then we chasing our own tails. Are you married?
Yeah.
Well, that's another paradigm. 20 years married. Hence being on the board by yourself in the morning. It's a very interesting way of.
My wife is not a morning person, and sometimes they say that. Excuse me if I slow down my speech, but I'm trying to make sure that I don't have to repeat.
Oh no! I love the way you speak.
Yeah, so I've been married 20 years, and my wife is not a morning person, and sometimes they say that opposite attract. She can't swim.
You're a swimmer.
Yeah. She doesn't run. I do. She cooks well. I don't.
There you go. You complement each other.
Yeah. But we find a common ground in the world of art. She's an artist. I am a collectioner and dealer.
Wow. You're talking about painting art.
Huh?
Paintings?
Plastic art. Paintings, sculpture.
Wow.
Installation. Like.
Interesting. And she's an artist.
Yeah, she's an artist.
It's interesting. I live with an artist. She's visiting from Argentina. She's a unique artist. She sculpts these birds. Very unique. You don't see this a lot. And they're made from sheep material. And she uses, obviously, for the legs, she uses some rods, but mainly it's made from organic sheep. What do you call the fur, or the material that you get from sheep? And she makes these pelican-looking like birds, some mystical, some real-looking, but it's a connection between. It's an interesting connection that she creates with animal world and a little bit of technology. And she has exhibits. She's not yet known, but it's an interesting thing. Maybe you know people that are into, because what she does is quite unique and it's interesting. She makes big sculptures of these beautiful birds, like pelicans, like flamingos. Those creatures were very mystical creatures and ancient. There's ancient writings about them, but it's fascinating stuff. 20 years marriage. How do you do it? My best is 16. My record is 16 years.
By the time I was 15 years into the marriage, I discovered Spanish, gardening, and other,
All the what?
and other interests,
Other interests.
like how to better myself.
Entonces habla español.
Yeah, un poco.
Qué amable. Es no muy usual hablar español para personas quien no tiene hablar. Por ejemplo, yo estoy tratando de hablar por 20 años.
20 años.
Y hablo un poco débil. Porque no tengo necesidad. When you don't have a necessity to speak a language, it's a difficult proposition. Because it's something that is so challenging to learn on a good level. Like we speak English, for example, at least. And I speak Russian. You sounds like you're...
Russian?
I speak Russian. Better than English.
Добрый день.
Добрый день. Очень приятно. Placer. Oh, look at that fish. I wish to speak French. That's my dream. But it's not strong enough, so I pick it up because I have no one to speak to. So I need to have so much perseverance and desire, which I don't have. So it's a dream that is more of like a whim.
15 years of marriage will help.
So I need to look for a woman. By the way, I hope you can give me some advice, and not to me even, because I'm recording, and this is an interesting discussion because
You can share this afterwards.
absolutely, because sometimes they say a word can change someone's life. I was just talking about before I came to say hi to you. There's a saying in the Bible. First, there was a word, the way that John starts, and the word was of God, and the word was God. And then there's another saying that says, life and death lie in the power of tongue, and he who loves it will bear the fruit of it. We forget that. It's a powerful thing. That's what separates us from the rest of the living creatures. We speak.
Yeah.
But
We think. Hopefully.
well, I was just talking about that because they do think as well, not as we, but they have a very interesting thought process. We just can't tap into it. But clearly, looking how they live, they're really thinking, and they don't make mistakes. You see, there's no mistakes in an animal world. There's no word like that. According to Buddha, there is no word mistake. It's a human construct that's been artificially implanted in our psyche. There is no mistake, except for that word. But having said that, what do you recommend? Because I've been looking for a wife. My ex has served that role admirably, gave me 4 kids that now she brainwashed, but that's a different story. I got 4 teenage children, young people. But I've been looking for 3 years, and I have certain things I'm looking for, certain features. I hate to sound so technical, but you see what I'm saying. I have certain ideas that I'm no, I'm good. That I'm trying to I feel that that's something that I am in harmony with, are those characteristics of a person, those qualities. That's a better word. I'm looking for certain qualities in a lady that are really dissonant. There's a lot of
Dissonant.
they're conflicting qualities. I'm looking for a very honest woman, yet very open-minded. Now those two are conflicting, because you get the open-minded, but they're usually not very honest. The honest ones are very close-minded. So there you go. So 3 years, thousands of encounters, dozens of women who... I had one that stayed with me last night, not the one that I'm living with. And she stayed there, she spent the night in a different room. Beautiful lady. Liked me clearly enough to have dinner with me and try to kiss me. It's complex. And I'm I'm not the one to force myself. No, even though she wanted me to force myself, but you know how these things go. But having said that, I mean, I'm out there, and I'm having a lady now in Mexico who I am seeing a future with. I convinced her to come from Moscow to Mexico because she can't get a visa yet. So she and her daughter, her name is Anastasia, she will listen to this, and she knows that I'm still looking and always will be. Not for a different one instead, but for additional. Now you see, those wars like that, additional, creates a huge dissonance in our society. Additional what? Now I want to hear from you. You seem like a person who knows.
I have perspective. Very biased. What I can tell you is that you're in a very lucky place. You're able to search.
Search. You make me, you inspire me to think in ways that very few people do. There's a saying, a friend of mine, his name is Fred Nietzsche. Nietzsche.
That's a great name, eh?
Yeah, he's a
heavy name to bear.
Nietzsche. He said, if you want to be happy, then have faith. But if you want to be a disciple of truth, then search.
Yeah, you're in a very special place.
I appreciate you saying that. But what is your what is your thought about that? What is your advice for someone like me, or there's other people who are in my situation who are looking?
My advice is going to be very lame.
Lame.
Lame, and we'll go back to what you were saying earlier, is to resolve the issues within first.
That's a problem. Yeah. Because my instinct was, just now, I'm trying to be aware of what the hell's going on in this box over here. My instinct when you said that was to negate the presence of those, to say my issues are resolved. That's an instinctual response. Clearly I have issues, and clearly there's some there's no perfectly balanced human being. It doesn't exist. So clearly I have certain disbalance, certain dissonant features in me. We all do. But I'm curious to know, in an objective manner, because you could see me, I can't see me. So and especially if you see well, I could see that you could see. What do you think would be some of those conflicts that I am experiencing that I may not be even aware of? Because clearly I'm asking for things that are not commonly asked for.
So, I wouldn't know, but what I can tell you is I can only know what you told me. That for one thing, and then talking about way to resolve this. Buddhism speaks about seeing yourself in the third. Do not, I shouldn't say do not, but it is advised.
No, I'm listening.
It is advised sometimes to look at you in the third. You have those feelings,
Abraham.
You have these feelings, you have these emotions. Set yourself aside and look at them without judgment or any kind of criticism, but observe, and then learn from being detached from yourself.
Which is, by the way, it's a fascinating exercise to analyze yourself, because it's very. This is the saying, I think, in one of the places in Greece, they built a palace, and there is a saying. In the entrance, the saying is "Know thyself," know yourself, because it's almost an insurmountable task, because it's almost impossible completely to really know who you are, because you can't even see yourself unless there is a mirror. Even that, you can't.
Reflection.
That's not you. It's not you.
Because you're still looking.
So there's no except, and this has been a teaching of all the greatest of the greatest, that the only truth, the only truth, like Matthew McConaughey, he talks a lot of philosophy. He says You can't own the truth. The truth is just that. It's no one's. It's not yours or mine. The real truth is no one's. It's the truth. But to know it is an impossibility because we use our senses. So no one really knows it. And that's the only truth. And some people say, if there is no truth, then why would this be true? But then it becomes they call it a sophistic expression where people just find contradictions in the sentence itself. But having said that, I try it, and that's why I sometimes I hear myself speak on a video, and I ask people who are open and knowledgeable, such as my friend, because most people, when I speak this way, they will outwardly, bluntly criticize and say you're crazy, you this, and I expect that because that's a common reflex.
That's a training.
Because they hear me and they think I'm obnoxious and perverted, and oh, it's a bit more complex than that.
But you know something? These folks are the ones you should listen to the most.
Who should
Who criticize you are the ones you should listen to the most.
listen to the most?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, they are.
What
Because they bring you knowledge that you don't have, or you did not have.
Well, I'm listening to you, but maybe I'm not understanding you
Okay, let me
in a
go back.
proper.
These folks who criticize you are the ones you should listen to the most. Why?
Why?
Because they bring you new points of view.
Grab this.
They bring you new points of view.
And that's great. And I'm always, that's why I'm always asking questions. But most of these people, and that includes my ex, my parents, my kids, my brother, they're very judgmental and they're very close-minded. So and I do listen to their commonly, if I say, hey, listen, I want to have 2 wives, they'll say, Abraham, you know, you're crazy. You're bipolar, go see a psychiatrist. And I do have a diagnosis, which is easy for them to even, you know, state that, because I have been diagnosed in the past and I've had bouts of depression. So now it's a very easy thing for them to go back to, say, yeah, you know, you're crazy. You know that, you know, you can't have 2 wives. That's crazy. I said, but Nigerians do. And they say, well, you're not Nigerian. So the argument becomes a very moot point because you can argue anything. But as an example, I'm using it. I am listening to them, but they're so narrow-minded and so close-minded that it's difficult for me to take them seriously. You, I'm taking very seriously. That's why I want to know, when you say listen to them, what do you mean by that?
Listen to them means that do not take them as they take you.
As the what?
Do not take them as they take you.
That's the word I'm listening. Do not take them as
As they take you.
oh, as they take me.
As face value. Rachel, you are